a chance to get live. Yeah, see, that looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that color was all
I know, I was like,
up.
I look really pale.
Right. I'm looking a little chocolatey, but that's all right. We'll go with it. All right, we're going to put this on the menu. Pause. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black. I'm a little chocolatey, but I'm not going to mess with it right now because Chris just saw me kind of have some issues with the camera just a minute ago. As long as you can see him, that's all that matters. You know what I look like. You've seen me a couple of times before. Maybe not. I might even like shine like a flashlight on me so you can see who I am.
Yeah, spotlight.
There you go. We'll do that. Bam! Spotlight. Boom. So now you can see me. That's kind of weird though, isn't it? That was kind of spooky.
Yeah, we're telling ghost stories.
I know, right? That's kind of spooky. All right. Anyway, hey, I hope everybody had a fantastic week. We did, Indiana's own did. You know me, I'm traveling around meeting candidates. That is not good, but that's okay. We'll be all right. We're traveling around the state, making sure that we're finding out who candidates are. I'm meeting new people every day. Every day I get to meet new candidates, people, women from all over the state. I was up in Montgomery County the other day, met another young lady who was running for one of those House seats. And I'm telling you, it does not matter where we go in the state. There are people who are speaking our language. There are people who feel like that we need to protect our unions and that we need to protect our public schools and that we need to make sure that our DCS gets fixed. And there are just a lot of good stuff happening around the state. I'm telling you, I've been to 26 counties, 26. And I'm getting the same message from Democrats all over, whether they're in the rural counties, suburbia, or urban area. It's all about making sure that we can take care of each other the best way we can. Now, unfortunately, there were 70 Republicans in the House and 50 Republicans in the Senate. Not even 50, I'm sorry, 41. I got to fix that. That's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts. How do we fix that? We're going to fix that. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's driving me nuts. Okay, look. See, I'm silly like that. How did I do that last time? You know, this is the great thing. Oh, look at that. Boom. Bam. Pow.
Oh,
see?
okay.
Boom. Okay, that's terrible. But now, I'm not a shadow anymore. I was feeling some kind of way about being a shadow. Man, can you guys still see me? Good. All right. Perfect. I get the thumbs up. Better. But anyway, how about those 70 Republicans in the House and those 41 senators in the Senate who could not handle their business? They could not take care of business in the allotted time that they were given, yet now we have to have a special session. So let's talk about what they didn't get done. I was actually kind of pleased that they weren't able to get done the bill from the senator from Crawfordsville who wanted to take over both Muncie schools and the Lake County School Board to silence the Gary School Board to silence the voters who voted for that school board. Boom, that died. That didn't get done. But there were some other bills that they wanted to push through that they didn't get through. But here's the deal. They spent like 2.5 hours on the last day patting, Senator Long on the back for all those years of service. Now, listen, I think it's great that he's served his time. It was probably too much time. He probably should have left a long time ago. But at the same time, you wasted all that time. Now, I'm not going to say the Democrats didn't kind of do their part by throwing some little nuggets in the way so people couldn't, pass some bills along. But the bottom line is you didn't handle your business. And so now the Hoosiers at the tune of $30,000 a day. I want y'all to think about that. That is, in many cases, people's salaries. This is what they're raising their kids off of. And because we continue to cut public education, a lot of that money goes towards their education. Because we're not willing to help them with health care, $30,000 goes towards their health care. If they have seniors that they're taking care of, that's feeding them. We don't want to help with food stamps. We don't want to give to the people who are less fortunate. $30,000 a day is what our state house, our General Assembly, and our governor Holcomb thought that this was a great idea because his party, the fiscally sound and fiscally responsible party, couldn't handle their business and get it done. Now, you guys should be writing in every day to all of your senators and your House reps saying, this is ridiculous. I know that Carrie Hamilton says she's donating her money because she didn't, she was one of the first ones I saw do it, right, out of 87. She was the first one I see that. There's still a lot of folks that ain't said nothing, and that's all right. That's on you. You can do what you want to with your money. But the bottom line is you still let us down as Hoosiers. You let us all down. You let us all down by not handling your business and then saying, because I couldn't get things done in my allotted amount of time, I'm going to charge you an extra $30,000. Now think about this in the sports analogy, all right? You go to a basketball game or a football game, right? Sometimes the game goes into overtime because the game is tied, right? Do they make you get up out of your seats and go down to the concession and spend another $15, $20 because the game went into overtime? Is that what they do? No, they don't. We like, whoa, that's just extra time we get. But no, not in Indiana. Because we want to be so fiscally responsible, and we cut taxes and we do everything that we do to help businesses, but we are willing to spend $30,000 a day of taxpayer money on an extra session so they can get more bills passed that disenfranchise people. I'm just saying, you guys ought to be up in arms about that. I'm up in arms about it. I'm not happy about it, not one bit. Not one bit. Brian Bosman, shame on you. You were my representative, shame on you. You should take your $30,000 and give it to me. I'm just saying, give your money to me so I can pay on my student loans. Jim, I'm being selfish. Yes, I am. Jim Merritt, you ought to give your money to me. You know, I mean, we pay enough in taxes as it is. Give me your money so me and my wife can maybe take, I don't know, pay our light bill. Do something constructive, or buy a new pair of shoes, or probably what we do is donate. We always giving our money away to people. So I know it's a novelty idea for you guys. Some of you Republicans out there. So listen, if you're like me, you're pretty ticked off about the fact that we're about to spend some money. Now they're so excited that they signed this workforce development bill. Oh my goodness, we are going to move forward. Did they tell you that they got to submit money? They got to submit a grant to try to get money to fund it? See, they forgot that part. But it doesn't matter. We're not going to have any money anyway because we're spending $30,000 a day on an extra session. I know. Hey, listen, I'm excited today because, with everything that's been going on with some of our school shootings and young people being galvanized, and we've had 3 discussions on Turn Left about IYD, which is the Indiana Young Democrats group. We've talked about college and high school Democrats. One of the things that we also have to remember is that there's the age limits on on what offices you can run for are as young as, in many cases, 18 years old and 21 years old. And so today I'm excited that I have a young, up-and-coming politician running for office out of the Lake County area. Yes, he drove all the way down. He drove all the way down to be on Turn Left. You guys, welcome to Turn Left. My special guest tonight, Chris Chyung. How are you doing, Chris?
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. I think it's exciting because, we old folky stogies, we forget sometimes that we gotta listen to our future.
Yeah.
We gotta listen to our future.
We're gonna inherit those decisions that get made today in the State House. So we gotta make sure that they're good ones. And if we're not happy with them, then we gotta get up and run.
Absolutely. And on top of that, I'm gonna need somebody to take care of me when I get old. I mean, I don't have any kids, so listen. I need y'all to make sure that old folks are taken care of.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you. I mean, your histories, share it. I don't know much about you at all.
Oh, no, absolutely. So I'm from Maryville, Indiana. I was born in Maryville, Indiana, in Lake County, and then I went to Munster High School, and then I live in Dyer now. So I've basically been in Lake County almost my entire life.
Excellent. All right, Lake County.
Years,
region.
Yeah.
No, wait, I'm sorry. The region.
Yeah, the region. Yeah. Region rats.
So. Okay. Oh, region rats.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, my parents came to the United States in the aftermath of the Korean War, actually.
Oh, okay.
They're both medical doctors now, and they knew that coming to America would be the best choice for our family and to give my sisters and myself the best educational opportunity that we could. But at the same time, when we were able to come over to this country, so many of those protections have gotten lost, and we have this so hateful rhetoric nowadays, and so many, not only that, but so many Hoosiers plain old Hoosiers are just getting left behind
Absolutely.
in today's Indiana. They're not able to climb up that ladder like my parents did back in the 80s and the 70s and 80s, really. So I wanted to really give back to the community in a way, become a public servant by helping out in that way. They wanted me to go to medical school. As you can stereotypically imagine, both my sisters and both my brothers-in-law and both my parents are medical doctors. So,
Oh, wow.
So I'm the black sheep. But
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a black sheep, baby. Hey, being black is all right. You can be that Dana black sheep. I'm just trying to tell you. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so we're hoping that we can give back to the community that I've been in for so long in some way, and we can have some representation that really reflects what the community needs. Fiscally, we're talking about taxes here and making sure that our tax dollars are spent on the right things and making sure they're spent on the people, not just on, big businesses or the political donors who line the pockets of those politicians.
Absolutely. The bought and paid for politician.
Exactly, yeah. It needs to be brought back to the people, reinvested back to us so that we can contribute to Indiana. So, yeah,
oh my God, you're amazing. Okay, I'm already, look, I'm hooked. I can't vote for him, but I'm hooked. Are you hooked already? I'm hooked. So can I ask you a personal question? We've not had an Asian or someone of Asian descent elected to our General Assembly, just like we haven't had an open and out LGBT person.
Right, yeah.
Talk to me about when you think about, wow, I could win this seat, what it would mean to be the first elected Asian American.
Well, hopefully me and Poonam.
Okay, this is true. Now, she's running in the 88. Y'all already know I love Poonam. I apologize. I missed that. My bad.
No. But I'm hoping that we can really show the youth of Indiana, some of the Asian youth of Indiana, that you can be a leader in the Midwest in a state like Indiana. When I went to school in New York City, actually for college, I got a lot of like, oh, you're from Indiana, like that's so weird. Like I thought you would be from LA or California or something.
They do not believe that Indiana's diverse, and we really are.
But we are such a diverse state. We have so many proud people to be here: LGBT people, Asian people, who speak all kinds of languages.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping that Poonam and I can hopefully turn these seats around and show the rest of Indiana and show those youth that they can have a place in this state. This state is for you. I know how heartbreaking it was after RFRA was passed for so many of those youth, and we don't have to go into the
well, that's what got me going.
Yeah, exactly. So
going.
It had people rising up. It had people standing up for their communities. And look, we shot that thing down.
Yes, we did.
We put a huge dent in that thing and showed the rest of the world that Indiana was more forward-thinking than a lot of people had preconceived notions about. So yeah, I hope Republican and Democrat youth, frankly, Asian youth, I hope that they can feel like they have a seat at the table, that they have a stake in society, and that they can see Poonam and myself
as role models. Yes. Boom, I love it. Are y'all falling in love? I'm falling in love. This is what Turn Left is about, is to introduce you to the candidates who are running so that you can have an idea of who they are and what they represent. This is amazing. This is a young man, obviously, who's going to go many places. Whether he wins his seat or not, he's going to win. Whether he wins his seat or not, he's going somewhere. So did you go to public schools as you were growing up?
I did, yeah.
What? You mean to tell me your parents thought you could go to medical school going to a public school?
Yeah. Me, my sisters, and I, we all went to public schools. We graduated from public high school, so yeah, we're very proud of that.
Recently, within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's because that's when they started tearing down the teachers unions and trying to say that Superman needs to come and fix the schools and all of that. But you graduated in an era when they were saying, no, all of our public schools suck.
Exactly. Yeah. That was huge. I mean, nowadays I tell people when I'm on the campaign trail, like back when I was growing up, we had public schools that were funded year to year, not referendum to referendum.
Especially in Lake County.
Exactly. Yeah. Now that we have this chaos, I mean, in my House District 15, it covers most of Lake Central School Corporation, and we're headed to the ballot box yet again for a $55 million tax hike referendum because we're essentially asking the Hoosier taxpayers to subsidize two school systems, a public one and a private/voucher one.
Absolutely.
So, this dysfunction needs to end, and I'm hoping that we can bring some sanity back to the State House, and we won't have to keep lurching referendum to referendum to keep our school doors open.
Yeah, and I think also at the State House, they were trying to decide, they were going to give $25 million this year, and I think $75 million next year because they couldn't count Maybe they should have went to a public school. They couldn't count how many
yeah.
students were actually going to be enrolled in public school. You know, when I think about that, you know, yes, I have my little conspiracy theories too, but I think they really thought the voucher program was going to be the death knell for public schools, and that parents would never send their kids to public schools. Ha! Ha ha ha! Phooey on Yui. You messed up. You didn't. I mean, and they literally miscounted how many students.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough money. Now I'm gonna need these people to. Can you count?
Yes. Okay.
Yay! I need people to know how to count. And so, okay, so RIFRA was one of those things you said that kind of got you fired up. What was the thing that really had you focused in on politics at such a young age?
Wow, you know, I would say looking at some of my representation after the last election and seeing some of my now opponents' votes, I would have to say really inspired me to go into politics. In fact, my whole family and I, we were cards on the table. We were totally apolitical. We weren't really in tune with politics whatsoever. We always thought of it as kind of like my friends and family actually too. We always thought of it as like someone else's problem, someone else's game. And you know, I feel like a lot of the American people feel that way. That's one of the reasons we have like 45% voter turnout in a lot of elections. And Indiana is at the bottom of a lot of those. So it feels like getting back in touch with the spirit of the people and finding out how we can best represent them really inspired me. And seeing my opponent's voting record, frankly, you know, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I said, I've got to do something because some of these, you know, voter suppression laws, some of these education funding inequities, you know, denying hardworking Hoosiers the ability to get ahead, to have affordable health care, to be paid what they're deserved. You know, some of these roadblocks that are constantly being put in front of them, I was just like, you know, I've had it. I've got to run. I've got to get smarter. I've got to get in tune with it. So that's why I'm here.
and you know what? I find that really interesting. And the reason why, by the time you became of working age, we had managed as a society to dismantle or beat down our union and our labor force to the point where we're trying to make them extinct.
Right.
Have you ever worked in a union type space?
I haven't been part of a union.
Okay,
no,
okay.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to you talk about you know, improving lives and fair work, you know, working wages. That's a labor concept, you know, essentially. How is it you were able to connect and relate to essentially a labor movement as someone who hasn't really, you know, that wasn't your space?
You know, I did a lot of learning on the way. A lot of my hardcore supporters and backers are, you know, USW workers from Northwest Indiana. They're they're part of the laborers local. They're part of the iron workers, the building trades, you name it. We've talked to all of these people and seen how they've been denied the opportunity to get ahead. And, you know, you only have to look at the chart that shows the graph between the decline of labor unions and the rise in income inequality in the United States. So it's directly correlated that by attacking, you know, working people's wages in favor of some, you know, corporate interest who has their hand in the pocket of a politician, you don't get the fair wages that the working people deserve. You get horrible imbalances in society, income inequality that's so damaging and spirals off into affecting crime statistics, property values, you know, wealth creation, all of these racial inequities. I mean, all of these things are tied to the labor movement. So I'm hoping that, you know, I spoke to the Northern Indiana Area Labor Federation a couple weeks ago, which was a gathering of a lot of different laborers guys. I got carpenters and electricians and plumbers and building trades, steel workers, all of them, iron workers. We were talking to all of them about the need for a more fair solution in Indiana to support these people and to make sure that we're guiding them towards the future. You know we can't make these grandiose promises that a bunch of coal or steel jobs are going to suddenly drop out of the sky and come back. A lot of those have been automated, so we're hoping that
if I'm president, Carrier will not leave. No, Rexnard is not going to leave. They're not going to leave. I've made a deal. I struck a deal. I'm orange and I struck a deal, and Carrier is not leaving. People will be employed. I mean, don't you worry about it. I say things you can't say. That's all right. Yeah. I mean, and that's what happened. People heard the grandiose plan. They knew.
Yeah, hook, line, and sinker. I mean, we gave Carrier millions of dollars, and they still moved hundreds of jobs to Mexico. So I mean, it's
right.
ridiculous.
We gave them money to move away.
Right, exactly.
Can I have my money back? I'm still trying to get money.
Yeah.
I work for the city, so we don't get raises. We work because we want to serve the community.
Right,
we don't get raises. Now my wife is often like, you do realize you have an MBA. At some point, I need you to make some money.
Yeah. We'll get that money back if we get to the state house.
It's right. And all we're saying is share the we share the problems. We share collectively to resolve them. I'm not saying I'm not saying gouge wealthy people. I don't want to gouge wealthy people. I want businesses who put their big semi trucks on our highways. And oh, by the way, we have weather that will change from forget hour to hour, minute to minute. Yeah. 1 minute you're like literally like, oh, I can pull out shorts this weekend. And no, you're like, no, I still need my hoodie.
Snowing outside, yeah.
And it's supposed to like get 4 inches this weekend.
I know. Oh my
God.
God.
I mean, we want so the pavement is the weather, the hot and the cold. It has an impact on that pavement, and you bring those big semi trucks down the road, but you're not even contributing to help fund and fix those things. You just want your next tax break. Mm-hmm. I need you to help contribute to the infrastructure. I need you to help not because I'm trying to gouge you, but heck, I gotta pay for it. Mm-hmm. I drive a pickup truck. My truck ain't making big dents in the road. It's a 4-cylinder. It's not. I'm not doing it.
Right, yeah.
So,
the 18-wheeler is.
Yeah, they are. And we just want things to be fair and equitable. Okay, so when you think about, so you've seen some of the things that your opponent votes for, and you felt like this was not the right way. How do you plan on, because I know it's hard as young folks, and I'm calling him young on purpose. I want y'all to understand the importance of the future. I am not insulting him because he's young. I am exalting him because he's young. I wish I had my head out of my ass at your age so that I could be doing what you were doing.
I wish I had it out sooner. It took a while.
Man, look, let me tell you, so Barack Obama was elected in 2008. I was 38 years old. And I still was not connected into the political thing. And It wasn't until I finished undergrad at 39 and was in graduate school at 41 and 42 that I actually got it. Here you are. And I am in heaven at the idea that we have people talk about we don't have a bench. I'm sorry. This is a bench right here. This is the starting 5 right here. Boom. So okay, enough of that. So I want you to understand I'm coming in. So how do you plan on breaking down some of those barriers? Because there's a whole bunch of old folk in our state house. When you get elected, how do you plan on bridging those conversations?
Absolutely. Well, actually, the Indiana Democratic Party, had a platform meeting, a hearing on the party platform in Lake County a couple of months ago or so. And, everyone got their chance to speak about issues that they care about. I got up there and I spoke about compassion, honestly. It wasn't about, guns or abortion or immigration or any of these issues. It was just about compassion, because at this point where we are in the political cycle, we are so tone deaf to one another, and we are not really bridging that gap like you were saying. We're hiding in our own silos. We're building up our own forts. We're not building coalitions to reach across the aisle and to make sure that everyone feels represented in Indiana. So I got up there and people were, and of course there was a big progressive audience there, a lot of Bernie people there.
Yeah, Bernie crats, I love them.
Yeah, and they were just like, I don't know about compassion, but I think I hear what you're saying. So I feel like even that small act of me getting up there in front of this crowd of people and speaking about having compassion for people who voted for the current president, people who didn't want Hillary or whatever, just talk to one another and really see how you can see eye to eye, because honestly, you'll be really surprised about how much crossover there is between all of us as a society. I was just talking the other day to a retiree who was at the old folks home actually in Dyer Nursing and Rehab on Sheffield Avenue.
You called it the old folks home.
I know, the elderly home. I slip of the tongue.
No,
Dyer
no, I think it's great because the young, I love it. The old folks home.
They call it that too. So in my defense, but anyway, we were talking to people there who said, I only vote for ours in the entire election, and then I didn't automatically turn away from them and say like, oh, you're this or that, you're racist or you're uneducated or something.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't.
No, you can't call people stupid and ask them to vote for you
that's disrespectful.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, I don't think even if you're not running for office, you shouldn't be disrespectful to people. So I just said, you know, look, sir, I think here's some of the issues that we're facing. Here's where your tax money is going. Here's what they think about healthcare prices and the insane premiums that are getting levied on you and the nonstop increase in prescription drug prices that you're having to pay, sir. And he was just like, you know, I have to think about that. You know, you've made me think about, you know, voting for a D for the first time. And I think that's really important.
Excellent. And the fact that you were able to talk about things that they could relate to, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't talk about, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, medical marijuana and some of the CBD oils and some of those things that are important, they are important. I'm not saying that they're not, but you were able to relate to your audience where they are.
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
you know, I'm going to suggest you're in pretty good health, right? You were one of the people that we needed to get into the Obama pool to help
I
supplement.
could subsidize, the older.
But the fact that you were able to say, listen, your prescription drugs, your medical costs. Normally, you know, they wouldn't associate that with, you know, when you're not dealing with it. Right. I think that's great that you have managed to connect that. Yeah. That's awesome. Connect those dots.
I think that's something we all need to be doing as a party because, you know, it all comes down to one word, why you're a part of the Democratic Party, in my opinion. I don't care if you're centrist, progressive, liberal, socialist, whatever. It comes down to one word, and that word is fairness. Fairness. I really think that this party is about fairness. It's not about pandering to huge corporate interests or to the ultra-wealthy class, you know, the political donor class. It's about, you know, helping the average working class person get ahead, and that's it.
And that's what we stand for.
Exactly,
and sometimes it's hard when we do have, like, on that national level, that D that, you know, is getting that corporate kickback, and we're trying to say, no, not stay in the border. I try to tell people, you know, because they get the noise at the top of the ticket at the Fed level can be overwhelming sometimes, right? I mean, oh my God, stormy. Why am I hearing a storm is coming? And the only storm I should be hearing about is the one that's coming on Saturday. But no, Sunday night on 60 Minutes, there's going to be a storm. And we got to listen to this chick, this female, talk about what it was that she did with the president. We already knew he was a douche when he ran for president. People knew that. They didn't care. They didn't care he wasn't black. That's all they care. Oh, he ain't black. He can be a douche. He ain't black. I mean, it was so funny to me because conservative Christians who, in their values and, you know, the Christian right and all of that, how are y'all voting? You don't have to. I'm just saying it was just weird to me on that. But yeah, with all that noise, I try to get people to stay in the border, stay in the state of Indiana.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the people that are getting the money in Indiana are ALEC people. And unfortunately, D's are not raising money. We're having to do things the grassroots way.
Right,
we're knocking on doors. And so you went down, you sat down, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to medical school. I figure you're done with undergrad, right?
Yeah.
What did you major in?
Industrial engineering.
Okay. Well, you're still a nerd.
I know.
You're still a nerd. I love it. Love it. We need more nerdy people in our state house.
I'm not a politician,
Yeah, because we got some special cases in that state house, in that General Assembly, and sometimes I don't even know how to. I'm not gonna talk about the eyeball tattoo anymore. I know people are like, "Why are you still talking about the eyeball tattoo?" We couldn't get DCS taken care of, but we did pass a bill to outlaw eyeballs. I'm just tattooing eyeballs.
It's a head scratcher.
Yeah. So you're done with undergrad, and you're like, you know, I know y'all want me to go to medical school. But I think I want a $22,000 a year job as a house rep. What did your family say?
What is that?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. They were like, what is the Indiana house? You know, I said, we were totally apolitical.
Yeah.
We were not politically attuned to anything. So I explained it to them a little bit because even it was a learning curve for me to explaining how, you know, township government works, county council government works, and state government and federal government, and all of the interrelations between the two. So, you know, I said, oh, well, it's, you know, working for the Indiana House of Representatives, and I would be representing 75 or 65,000 people in Northwest Indiana, my community where I grew up, and they were like, okay, you know, God bless my parents. They were supportive of me from the start. They were like, if this is what you want to do, you're still young, you don't have kids yet. So,
That's it. That's it.
So go ahead and try it. We will be with you as a family every step of the way. And, I got to admit, even my parents had more Republican leanings back then, but frankly, the current president really ruined the Republican Party for immigrants like my parents. And in a lot of ways, they're feeling alienated by what they're seeing is a lot more xenophobic and a lot less focus on the fiscal matters and a lot less focused on helping ordinary people and more about retribution, punishment, hateful rhetoric and stuff. So my parents are they've kind of been alienated by that, and we're finding more and more people, especially in the suburbs where I live. It's basically a suburb of Chicago. We're finding more and more people are becoming like that. So we're hoping we can reach out to them on matters. And we don't have to agree on everything, but we can agree on more things than they agree with the current party. So
and when that was one of the things that the Republican Party after 2008 were scratching their heads about. They couldn't understand how they lost the Asian vote. The Asian vote went 75% D. But if you were talking about deporting people every 15 minutes, and did you forget that some of our Asian brothers and sisters were also immigrants? Y'all only was talking about Mexicans. They couldn't say that, right? Yeah. They couldn't say just Mexican because then they would sound like racist.
Right, yeah.
But if we talk about immigrants, these immigrants who are coming over and then the illegal aliens that are coming, of course, now, I know I've watched Captain Kirk take care of all the illegal aliens before in the past. We don't have any more illegal aliens, so please don't ever call them that in my face. But they want to talk about illegal immigrants. And when you start talking about immigrants, you're talking about everybody that comes here, not just Mexicans. Yeah, and they messed up.
Yeah, and a few generations ago, those same people who are trying to close our borders, their family were immigrants too.
Gee, imagine that. Well, and that's what I tell people all the time. If you are not a native, if you are not of Native American descent, if you don't have any Choctaw, any Sioux, any Cherokee, Iroquois in you, guess what? You're an immigrant. Whether you were, you arrived over on the boat from Europe or you were under the boat from Africa, you were an immigrant. Or you came over from the Pacific, because we already know that Asians had been populating, the Chinese Asians and Japanese Asians had been populating California and the West Coast long before we had our manifest destiny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Long before Manifest Destiny. Yeah. So and they blew it, and they couldn't understand how they lost 75% of the Asian vote, because you keep talking about immigrants.
And the hateful rhetoric around it, we've got to end that. We've got to start looking at, in my view, a pathway to citizenship for a lot of people.
Yes, DACA, speak on it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we need to. I think it's a fair solution for us to say, look, these kids were brought here by their parents. Sure, their parents broke the law, but those kids didn't break the law. They had no choice. So we need to support them. We need to give them a pathway to be full-time American citizens. And, just as a point of perspective, I think what I did for my American citizenship, I didn't do anything for it. I was just born here.
Come on.
I was blessed by God to be able to be born in the United States, to be able to be born in Maryville, Indiana. And, I didn't work for it in any way. So my parents.
Most of the people that are moaning and groaning didn't either.
Right. Yeah.
They just happened to be dropped out somebody and just boom.
Right. Yeah. I think we've got to take that into perspective, and I hope that the politicians on Capitol Hill will be able to find a solution for DACA and to be able to give these folks who have been paying their taxes, who have been contributing to American society for a long time, give them a pathway to citizenship.
It's the only humane thing to do, and to split up families. They're doing it's heartbreaking to watch.
Right.
And this is supposed to be the party of family values, but you're splitting up families.
Right, exactly.
And unfortunately, I'm gonna call my D's out. Not enough of us are taking up this fight. Now, I know that I'm down with DACA, and when I ran for office the first time, one of the first meetings I had was with a coalition here in Indianapolis. I didn't even know what the struggle was, because it wasn't in my space, right?
Me too.
I'm just trying, at the time, I'm just trying to be with my girlfriend without getting, harassed. I had a whole set of different concerns. But sitting down and talking about, we've been here for so long, and we've gone to school, and we have our education, we're lawyers. We've passed the bar.
Right.
But we can't, we can't be considered citizens. We can't find a pathway. We have nothing to do with it.
Right,
it's a struggle.
Yeah, that's a great point. We do need to keep up the fight for this and make sure that we have a pathway to citizenship or lobby for a pathway to citizenship. And again, like I said, every day we can fight this by disavowing the hateful rhetoric out there.
So Lake County, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because, I love the way you flow with your conversation. So I don't have to ask you what your topics are because you're just flowing. I love it. Let's talk about Northwest Indiana because there's a neglect from Indianapolis. Indianapolis has a tendency to neglect Northwest Indiana, especially when it comes to environmental issues.
Yes.
Environmental concerns. I mean, honestly, the fact that, the student from the University of Chicago had to sue U.S. Steel for dumping, waste into Lake Michigan, and we didn't fight for it. Tell me about what you're seeing up there as far as environmental concerns that you would like to see addressed.
Absolutely. Well, we all know about the crisis in East Chicago and how the lead crisis was affecting so many families out there who had no idea that they were living on this toxic Superfund site, and there was evidence of neglect, I believe, from the industrial companies trying to sweep it under the rug or take shoddy soil samples that would try to inflate the results of the purity of that soil. So what we're trying to do, not only are they still taking water donations, and we've donated a lot of water as part of Lake County Young Democrats, we've donated and collected water and made sure that bottled water got to those folks because as you said, the environmental neglect is really heinous up there, and you would be so shocked as to the organizations up there who have seen so much environmental justice, as well as there is probably a racial component to it as well. Frankly, it is unfair for anyone to have to live in a toxic, smog-infested place. And with Indiana having the 4th worst air quality in the nation, it is something that we definitely have to do, not only for to keep ourselves alive, but it's the ethical obligation as well. And I do want to talk about the business component that I think I worked in finance a little bit, so I kind of have an idea.
Oh, look at that. A Democrat that understands money.
Yeah, a little bit.
What you know about that?
So as Indiana has one of the most punitive solar power laws in the country in terms of solar incentives, we know that 2 million Americans are employed by the green energy construction and design fields. 2 million. That's wind turbine manufacturing, that's solar panel installation, that's LEED certified construction. All of these things are so important for us to foster, and it is the path forward. So I think I still have it on my website as a platform point that I wanted Indiana to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord on its own, independent of the United States if the president wants to get out of it. But not only because it is our moral and ethical obligation to those folks, especially in Northwest Indiana, but also it just makes good business sense. It makes business.
Right. You're going to make more money that way.
Right.
I mean, because even what I found interesting, excuse me, even the coal industry barons were like, we're not bringing back coal jobs. Right?
Exactly.
And this is what was being pushed. And now we know, and the numbers are out, the studies are out, renewable energy is where the jobs are.
Exactly.
Renewable energy is where the money is. Yep. It's the future.
Yeah.
We need to do better with investing. I assume that's probably something that since you want us to join the Paris Accord and it's on your website, that's probably something that's big for you then, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes good business sense at this point. We know that this solar power law that was so punitive for Hoosiers and eliminated so many incentives, we know that was bankrolled by large power utility companies who had the most to lose. And I don't think that's fair in a society for us to be able to legalize corporate almost bribery, frankly, for our politicians.
That's exactly what it was. And it didn't cost them much at all.
Exactly. That's what's so ridiculous. I mean, that's why I've dedicated my campaign to not taking any corporate or corporate PAC donations.
Ooh.
So I know that's going to be more difficult on our fundraising pockets.
But that's okay. You keep talking like you're talking. People are going to give you, the $2, $5, $10. They'll give you what you can. Don't worry about that part.
And that's what matters. I don't like seeing it when my representative takes money from Pfizer's PAC and then we see drug pricing reform fail in the State House. I don't see that as a coincidence.
Right. I wonder how that happened.
Right.
And again, SB 309 I think is a prime example of the legislator who wrote the bill received so much money from the coal power plant burning consortium, and it took him a couple sessions to get it through. It finally passed. Oh, and by the way, I'm retiring. I'm going to D.C.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's just enough to just drive you crazy,
yeah,
right?
It's a revolving door from lobbying to state government and federal government. So
and I think it also speaks volumes to the fact that you care less about the people that you say you're going to represent than you do yourself. And see, to me, being a representative is a selfless act. Because there are things that you could be doing differently, right? You could be in med school, you could be doing a gazillion, or you could be getting your master's in engineering.
Yeah, I could have a private life, a private, quiet life, and I had a comfortable job, and I was making decent money. I mean, and my family was just like, "Are you crazy? You want to put yourself out there for this?" I'm just like, "We have to do it, guys. We really have to." So everyone, even watching on this stream, everyone watching this on YouTube, we've really got to step it up and make sure that we go to bat for our communities.
Absolutely, and we got to get people to the ballot. We got to get people to the polls to vote.
Amen.
Oh my goodness, the idea that you stayed home is one of the reasons why we're in, kind of in this mess. Indiana, and we're notorious for it. We don't go to the ballot box. We've got to do better with that.
Right.
Okay, so one more thing. I think I got a few more things actually, but you doing
this.
good.
Let's keep going.
Well,
I love
okay.
this.
Well, let me ask you this: is there something else that you're super passionate about that you feel like we haven't touched on yet?
Well, we've touched on a little bit about the healthcare component, about how I firmly believe that not only elderly Hoosiers, as I met in the Dyer Nursing and Rehab facility, not only they need to have drug pricing reform, but all of us really do. All of us do, because a company like Mylan or Turing Pharmaceutical shouldn't be able to jack the price of a life-saving drug a few thousand% just because they can.
Right.
I think there needs to be some oversight. I think there needs to be some limit on the lobbying and corporate donation cash that goes into keeping these policies in place.
Get money out of politics.
Yeah, that's one of my main campaign points. So, I mean, I think we can really make some inroads here because Nevada, Vermont, California, a bunch of states in bipartisan ways have passed this drug pricing reform that forces drug companies, and it's not capping profits, so Eli Lilly, don't get scared or don't start putting attack ads on me yet.
Right. Because I know y'all watching.
Right,
Lily, Roche, I know y'all watching.
Right, yeah.
Y'all watching Turn Left.
It's common sense reform, though. What we're really asking for is saying, like, look, we want you guys to be transparent about where your R&D funding goes to. If you say that there are these burdensome regulations, prove it to us. Prove it to us that this is the reason why you're jacking these drug prices. Because in a lot of studies we've seen, that's not the case. Not the case at all.
Right.
They're doing it because they can make
more money.
Yeah, and that's just a human thing. But we've got to keep our eye on the ball there. The other thing I would say is education reform, definitely. Like I mentioned, we're headed to the ballot box yet again for a $55 million tax hike referendum for Lake Central Schools. I was just talking to the superintendent of Lake Central Schools, Dr. Veraco in Northwest Indiana, last week on Sunday, and he was giving us a little more color about the tax increase, about how the money's staying in the classroom, about how, again, essentially we're having Hoosiers pay for two separate school systems, and that's totally...
It's unsustainable.
Exactly. It's totally ridiculous. You can't do one thing well if you can do two things poorly, but you can't do one thing well if you're trying to do two things poorly. So.
And because they were leaning more toward, okay, we're going to spend more money in private school. I mean, that's the thing that really just drives you nuts, right? The fact that your tax dollars are going to private institutions. You can say, as Betsy so eloquently said on 60 Minutes, that the money is following the students. The money is following. So if you homeschool, do you get your money? If you're homeschooling your kids, do you get that money? I don't think they do.
No.
You have to be going to an institution. So therefore, you're taking my tax dollars and you are giving it to private institutions who don't have to take every student, nor do they have to follow the same set of rules.
Exactly.
Or parochial schools which have the right in all of their religiousness to discriminate against different types of people for whatever reason.
Exactly. I think I saw the figure was somewhere in the neighborhood of $16 million a year in taxpayer funds go towards subsidizing schools that discriminate against LGBT students.
Wow.
That's unacceptable to
That's
me.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't like that my tax dollars are subsidizing that. A lot of people I figure don't like that either. Regardless.
They just don't, maybe they don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
We're telling them.
Right, yeah, so that's school.
Chris and Dana are telling you.
Yeah, we are telling you. The school funding reform formula, we definitely need to rein that in and figure out a way to not only shore up the teachers' unions and make sure that our kids are getting a quality education, but also making sure that it's just plain and simple fair. Again, back to that word fairness.
I mean, and the idea that, the person who is in charge of our nation's education system isn't even willing to go to a failing school to find out, not intentionally anyway, not intentionally, go to a failing school to find out why it's failing. What needs to happen? You may realize that, taking money out of these schools and giving it to other schools is one of the reasons why this school is failing.
Exactly, yeah, and I don't want to miss this point either. Betsy DeVos herself, she's a billionaire heiress from Michigan, and she has splashed out around $4.2 million, I believe, at last count, around the state of Indiana in political races, state house races, including my opponent.
That's all right. That's all right. We're not worried about that.
So we just want to let people know that we are not going to let some out-of-state billionaire heiress pull the puppet strings for our legislators, pull the puppet strings for our kids.
They've been successful for so long, though. How do we... I mean, I get it.
Right.
I get what you're saying, and I feel your passion on that, but they've been able to get away with it for so long. That's why we have the supermajority. That's why, the voucher program under Mitch Daniels grew, and it's now the model. I mean, literally, it is the model that they are using to spread around. How do we get people to see that, hey, this is bad for our kids, this is bad for the teachers, this is bad for families, this is bad for growth, this is bad for the brain drain in Indiana? Yeah. How do we connect those dots?
Yeah, we've got to keep talking to our neighbors. We've got to keep telling them, like, look, are you happy that we have to go again to the taxpayer, hat in hand, to ask for another referendum to keep our public school doors open? I mean, like, we know that a lot of our home equity value is tied to the performance of the public school.
Come on, he said home equity value. Come on, where you live. Where you live.
Yeah, the value of your home, that money in your pocket, essentially, is tied to the performance of your public school. So we have to take a hard look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are we going to allow that inequity to continue to be sustained by our lackadaisical legislature? And the answer is no. The answer is that we're going to flip seats. We're going to be paying attention more. We're going to be helping other races, even if
15 is flipping, baby. I can see it now. I can see 15 is just straight up flipping.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
And then also asking ourselves, if you live in a district that's not already Democratic, or that is already Democratic, then go out and help and campaign and canvass and volunteer and phone bank for a neighboring district that you can help out. Because, we're all in this together. As Hoosiers, we all have to fight one by one alongside each other to make sure that this school funding formula is fair and that the taxpayers are being treated well.
Democrats all around the state, I think Chris Chyung has just thrown down a challenge. Whether you see it that way or if he articulated that way, I'm calling it out that way, right? I can make it up in my head however I want. He basically said, listen, Democrats, those of you who are in those safe districts, because the gerrymandering goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gerrymandering has been set up so that, yes, these are in strong districts where there's very little competition. They don't run Republicans. There are areas where it's just not as many, right? He's calling out. Democrats, could you come, those of you that are in safe seats, that don't have to raise as much money, that you don't have to spend as much time in your district, could you come help us in winnable districts? Can you come knock doors for us? Can you raise money for us? Can you have fundraisers for us? Yes, he called Democrats out. I love it. I love it. And he did it so politely. Oh my God. He's a sweet.
Thank you.
You're gonna make a great spouse. You're gonna make a great spouse. Honey, but it really is time to wash the dishes. I mean, sometimes, you like to see them sitting there, but we really should wash them. Maybe we'll do it together.
Talk about it. Yeah, let's compromise.
Let's do this together. I love it. He threw down a gauntlet. And I love that because you're not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love I mean, listen, people, if you keep waiting for the same old guard to do things differently, what's the definition of insanity? You know what I'm saying? So here we need some fresh blood. We need some fresh shakeups. We need people to see things differently. And oh, by the way, public school educated college graduates are leaving Indiana. They're leaving I'm gonna write about it. So I'm not gonna give too much away. I'm gonna.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, I hear what you're saying. Even when I graduated from Munster High School, and a lot of my friends who were some of the most talented, smartest young people in our school and probably the state, they left Indiana, and I see that as a huge problem.
It is a huge problem.
They're on Wall Street, they're in Silicon Valley, a few of them are in downtown Chicago, but they're not coming back to Northwest Indiana, and I see that as a big problem.
That is a huge problem. And how can we attract businesses when, we talk about, well, we need a better workforce? Well, part of that is true. Yes, we do need a strong workforce, but we have Rose-Hulman, we have Notre Dame, we have IU, Purdue. Yeah. We have some of the best institutions of higher learning, and we are churning out brilliant students. Where are they going?
Right, exactly.
Ball State, Indiana State, they're leaving.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why they're leaving is quality of life.
Yeah.
Because there's listen, you can't live anywhere in the U.S. At the rate that we live. I mean, honestly, the cost of living in Indiana, we know, is kept low for a reason. So I ain't got to pay you no more money. You keep the cost of living low and keep the wages low. Come on, there's a direct correlation. And then I can give you a tax break on top of that.
Right.
But there's more to just workforce development than I'm going to train you to do a job. It's also quality of life.
Yes, absolutely.
What you're offering the citizens. We don't have mountains and rivers, well, we have rivers, but we don't have any mountains and oceans and beaches.
Right.
I mean,
weather.
Right. We don't have 75, 80 degree weather majority of the time. The sun doesn't even shine, I think, 100 days a year. So there are other things that we have to do in the state of Indiana to attract and keep that talent.
Yeah, exactly. I went to school in New York, as I mentioned, and New York, their Excelsior Scholarship is a program that gives free tuition to New York kids who go to New York schools, New York public colleges. And then, but the stipulation is that they have to stay in New York after graduating, and for 4 years in order to get that money. So I thought, wow, what a great revenue, budget neutral solution.
Absolutely.
That Indiana should take a page out of New York's book and say, look, if you want this 21st century scholars money, then why don't you stay in Indiana for 4 years? Try to buy a home here, start a business here, start a family here. That's what makes sense, and that's a budget neutral solution.
Yeah, but you're asking Indiana Republicans to take a page out of a New York playbook? That ain't finna happen. They'd rather go down to Arkansas and Alabama and Mississippi and get something out of their playbook.
Yeah, hopefully we can make a change. Hopefully we can move them a little bit over, because I think there was a lot of bipartisan support in New York for that legislation. It just makes sense.
But when you're in the coast, even Republicans on the coast think differently. And I even say, like, Republicans in Indianapolis think differently than Republicans around the state.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Lake County Republicans.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, even when Ballard was the mayor, when Riffer was coming down, he was in front of the city county building, like, look, Indy accepts all. I don't know what they're doing over there across the downtown, but Indy accepts all. We're not doing that. So So I think in New York Republicans and Hoosier Republicans, and what's so funny is, like, unless you're Brian Bosman, you really don't stay here for 35 years. Yeah, I called you out. They usually get their money and they go somewhere else, right? They become a lobby for somewhere else.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They
do something else. They don't stay like this guy say. So it's going to be hard to move some of those folks over to thinking, because the idea came from the left.
Right. Yeah.
If it comes from what's his name? I can't even think of a Republican right now. That's how much I love them. I can't even think of one. If Susan Brooks came up with it, but she would never come up with it. Never mind. Forget that. If a more centrist Republican, right? Because Jeb Bush is not, like, he wasn't a stupid guy.
No,
right? He was. So. That's something he would come up. Unless he came up with it, Republicans in Indiana would not. They're special like that. They would rather continue to pollute the air than to offer clean energy jobs.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to make some inroads when we hopefully flip some seats.
We're flipping seats. So speaking of flipping seats, tell me about your campaign. Where can people find you? How can they sign up to volunteer? Where can they donate?
Absolutely. Well, my website is where everything is. It's CHYUNG.com. So that's Vote Chyung, my last name.
And his name is typed in the title, and we'll find him. We'll link his page on here, right?
And then my Facebook is linked from my website, and my Act Blue page where you can donate via credit card is on my website as well, so you can take a look. And I try to be as transparent as possible. I listed out all of my, the top 12 position points that I have on most issues, so you can go into depth. And, we might not agree on everything. We're not. I would be surprised if we did.
I don't think we do. I don't think we will.
So I want you to take a look at it and give me some feedback and share those ideas around the state, because I really think there's so much work that needs to be done in Indiana and so many good ideas that I've seen from doing the independent research. As if I'm elected representative, I don't want to be the one who just, listens to the chatter in my ear from the lobbyists about how to vote on a bill. I want to do the independent research like I was taught in school. I want to...
Really? They teach you that in college?
Yeah.
To do some homework?
Fancy that.
What you know?
So I want to try to do some of that and make sure that we're fighting for the right causes here. And, I'm trying not to draw the boundaries between right and left. Like, I've seen a lot of people who I've met on the campaign trail. Even this morning, right before I was coming down, I got a call on my cell phone from a woman who our last canvassing event we had in the beginning of March, I think it was. Yeah, the first weekend of March, we went out and canvassed 250 homes. I left a door hanger on this woman's door, and actually through our data analysis, it showed that her son actually was the one who had never voted before, so we were actually targeting him, and she had voted in a Republican primary and was a staunch Republican, but she had ended up calling me on my cell phone because I have my cell phone on my website and my Facebook. And it's 219-654-2554. If you ever want to call or text me.
I love it. Put it out there, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So she had called me and said, why do you think the economy is doing so well? Wouldn't you credit Trump for doing all that stuff? And, my stock portfolio is going up, and my neighbor bought a boat, and, we're doing well. And I'm just like, I hear you, ma'am. I hear you. Look, we're seeing stock portfolios rise as well, But at the same time, we have some of the worst wage growth in the United States right here in our own backyard. We lag the rest of the nation in terms of GDP growth until about last year, actually. But every year before that, we had lagged the nation. We're still suffering up here, and we still have a lot of unemployed people who just want to be able to feed their families and who maybe aren't doing as well as you. And they're not getting that fair shot at the Hoosier economy like some of the wealthier people, some of the political donors are. And, eventually we got to the point where she was like, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time out to call me on your cell phone and give that number out. So I'd love to meet you in person. So we're going to be talking soon. And I think, maybe I just flipped her, but at least we could be able to talk to one another and open that humane dialogue between one another instead of drawing up these battle lines. So I will be canvassing again on March 31st. We're doing a big canvas
March 31st.
Phone bank.
March 31st.
Yeah,
where? The
last Saturday in Dyer. We're going to be right before Easter. We're going to be canvassing and phone banking. So
excellent.
I'm excited to do that, and hopefully the weather warms up a little bit. But feel free to get in touch with me. Like I said, I put my cell number out there. You can find me in so many ways. So I'd love to be able to talk about some of this stuff and make sure that we're all fighting for the right causes here.
Now, how could you not want to help him? How could you not? I am like, again, I had no expectations. I try not to have any expectations about my guests because you never know.
Yeah.
I have been completely blown away.
Thank you.
And let me explain.
That means a lot coming from
well,
you.
Stop, honey. Listen. You got it. You got. What I love is that you did your homework. What you didn't know, you researched it. You understand. You figured out how to connect with people, and that is what being a servant is all about. That is what when you say you want to run for office, you're saying I want to be a servant for the people,
right. And
you took it upon yourself to say I'm going to figure out how to be that best servant for my community.
Right.
A lot of people are selfish. They don't want to do that. They, I'm here. Give me my money. I'm here. Don't you just think I'm cute? Hello. That's what they want. They, I'm with you. Everyone doesn't agree with what I say. Everyone doesn't agree with how I live. But I still want to be a servant. I still want to work for my people. This is what you have in Chris, people. Are you listening? Are you catching it? And also, he is our future. This is the first we're hearing of him, but this is not the last that we're going to hear of him. He is going to do amazing things, hopefully it's in Indiana. Hopefully he stays.
I hope so too.
Right. Hopefully he stays.
I plan to stay.
Well, if you fix some things, I know you'll want to stay, right? I did that. Nothing wrong with that. We fixed some things. And this is why it's important that we support all the candidates up and down the ballot. We have a more diverse ballot up in Indiana than we've had in a very long time. I'm excited about the diversity, the youth, the amount of women. This is an amazing time. This is an amazing time to be a part of Indiana politics. If you don't feel what I'm feeling right now, check your pulse, baby. Check your pulse. This is real deal. This is real deal. This is real. This is what's happening. We're gonna flip some seats. You know, I'm excited. So give us your last word to get us hyped up and motivated. We got 2 minutes left.
Most importantly, like I said, it's about compassion in this race. You know, it's about compassion across Indiana. We have to reach out to our neighbors, reach out to those people who disagree with us, and say, like, look, we need to fight for the average working class Hoosier and not pander to these special interests, these deep-pocketed people who are coming in from out of state and trying to co-opt our government, frankly.
Baby.
So I'm hoping that we can see eye to eye on those issues. And, you know, I would urge you again to just be empathetic with people. If they disagree with you, you know, don't call them names, don't be disrespectful to them, just calmly say what they need to, what you can see eye to eye on, frankly. And like you were saying, do your homework, do your research, and make sure that you know everyone who represents you, that you know everyone who's running against the people who represent you, and that you know who you're going to be backing this May 8th and this November 6th. So I hope we can get people more out to vote, and I'm excited. So
invest in your politics. Yeah. Invest in it.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, one quick thing I want to shout out. April 14th. IDAC Indiana is doing some great stuff. IDAC Evansville and IDAC Indy. They're both holding candidate forums. Obviously there's details on both of those. I will be down in Evansville with the IDAC Evansville crew. I've been reaching out to politicians. I saw William Tanous, who's running in the 8th district. I'm trying to get him to come down and talk to the folks down in Evansville. I'm talking to my guy Robert Dion down there so we can get some Stonewall folks. Bottom line is 92 counties, people. 92 counties up and down the ballot, Democrats 2018 and beyond. This is not, we're not done in 2018. We're just beginning. We're just revving our engine up, right? We are just getting started. So I want to thank everyone. Chris, thank you so much for coming all the way down and rapping with me on Turn Left. I will be back with you guys again next week. Indiana's own Dana Black. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye. All right, let me get the mic things over here going.
That was fun.
Very impressive.
Oh, thanks. You're such an amazing host.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, except for the live is still going up. Okay, wait. How do I turn this off?